Welcome back. We'll move on to the next race, the Shade. The Shade is a race that is, the story is that you made a deal with some dark entity, be it a dark deity, a creature from the shadows, something like that. And it has now actually altered your outward appearance and your mentality and just kind of how you are. And, you take on this blackish complexion. You just become this terrifying being. It's a charisma and dex or intelligence race. Really good at hiding in shadows and everything. And they're just pretty badass, actually. They get a lot of shadow and sneaking and stealthing and it's pretty good. There's a lot of information in this. That's another thing they changed is, now they give you a lot of race information, which I'm really happy about. The Shade is actually one of the first ones that get the ability to substitute some of their utility powers for racial utility powers. So that's pretty cool. Then we get the Vryloka, which is a race cursed by essentially vampirism, but it's not really vampirism. So it's pretty cool. That's their story. They're thousands of years old. They're very vampiric without being vampires. They're a charisma and strength or dex race. They also get the ability to substitute utility powers. Then they go into organizations of previously established races that are shadow oriented. Like for the dwarves, we get the where is it? The Lure of Shadow, which is an organization for higher ups. There is, what is that? No, sorry, my apologies. I read the wrong one. The Lure of Shadow is kind of like why dwarves use shadow magic. Then there's things like the Obsidian Cave, which is just mythology oriented. We get the Eladrin, and we get the organization of the Pale Court, which is a nethermancy school for them. And the Twilight Phantoms. Elves get... these are all just story things to read. They're pretty cool. Then we get some new Paragon pads for just about everything. The Battle Weaver for arcane. Dark Watcher for good or lawful aligned creatures. Disciple of Razundra for Gloompact warlocks. Dusk Oracle if you have training in insight and religion. Nocturnal for any primal class. Ravenkin for any arcane class with training in religion. Shadow Dancer is any teleportation at will or encounter power and training in stealth is a requirement for that. Shadow Shaper is wizards. Shadow Thief is arcane. Veiled Master for training in stealth and perception. Then we get into epic destinies that are all designed for shadow purposes. We get the Guardian of the Void, which does not have any requirements. We get the Keeper of the Everflow, which does not have any requirements. They're all pretty cool. They got a lot of stuff, a lot of options and story stuff. The Marshal of Letherna, which has no requirements, and the Twilight Tribune. Now, all of these actually have a lot of story options, and some of them are designed more to be with, groups of themselves. So, like, for example, which one is it? I think it's the Guardian of the Void. Has powers that are more potent when near other Guardians of the Void. So, it's pretty cool, especially if you can get your entire party to take them. That gives you A, story stuff that you can do written around that, and 2, it makes their powers more potent. That's pretty cool. They got some new feats in here. Problem is some of them are a little bit more focused than others. Like, where is it? There was one in here. Can't remember which one it is. But they're pretty cool. I mean, you get some things like the ability to resist frost stuff, frost damage, ice damage, which is pretty cool. You get things. One of my favorite feats is Tainted Wounds. You've learned how to turn shadow magic against the monsters you face. When your weapon scores a hit, you leave behind a lingering curse that saps a foe's ability to heal. If you hit an enemy with a melee weapon attack, it cannot regain hit points until the end of your next turn. So if they have regeneration, they're fucked. If they've got a cleric, they're still fucked. So it's just really good powers. They offered some new equipment. One of my favorites is actually the Raven's Feather. It does absolutely nothing except that you take a Raven's Feather and coat it, or you enchant it to someone, and then you'd enchant it to a party member, and then you'd leave it with. I used the example from the book. An order of assassins. They take a Raven Feather and they enchant each one to a single member, and they send that member out. Now, however, their boss at home base keeps that feather. If that feather turns red, what it means is that assassin that's enchanted to has actually died. So it has absolutely no, mechanical bonuses, but it's really cool for a story, especially if you wanted to give this to party members. You give it to their loved one or whatever, and they go out. However, halfway through an adventure, it turns red. Now they're going to go back and find out what's happened. So it's pretty cool. I liked it. And that brings an end to The Heroes of Shadow. So ultimately, I recommend this book if you liked anti-heroes. If you didn't, you're not going to get a lot of... Well, then if you actually didn't like anti-heroes, you can still use it to make villains. Some pretty badass villains, actually. So, then you can pick this up for around 20, I want to say. I think. Maybe a little less. Yeah. So, I recommend this book heavily. They actually come out with a new one on the 15th called Heroes of the Feywild, which will be awesome. I've already got that one pre-ordered, too. That's going to come here the day it comes out. But, I think next week we will do the final four... Well, actually, I just got a new 4A product today, but we'll be doing Threats to the Interior Veil, which is a Monster Vault, next week. So, until then, have a good one.